Three speedboats racing across dark waters. They're hunting. The target? A massive ship on the horizon. But these Somali pirates just made the worst mistake of their lives. They didn't attack a cargo ship. They attacked the USS Eisenhower, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. This is what happened next. If you're fascinated by incredible military stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss what unfolds in today's story. It's March 19th, 2025. The Arabian Sea looks deceptively calm on the surface. But beneath this peaceful facade, danger lurks in every shadow. Somali pirates are making a comeback, and they're getting bolder by the day. In just the first 3 months of 2025 alone, these maritime criminals have attempted 27 hijackings. Most of them failed miserably, but that hasn't stopped them from learning, from adapting, from becoming more dangerous. The sun begins to rise over the Gulf of Aden, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and reds. Through these waters cuts the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, known to her crew simply as Ike. But this isn't just any ship sailing through international waters. This is 1,092 feet of pure American naval supremacy, over 100,000 tons of floating steel and technology, home to more than 5,000 highly trained sailors, pilots, and Marines. The flight deck alone spans 4.5 acres, enough space for up to 90 aircraft, including FA-18 Super Hornets, E-2D Hawkeye early warning planes, and MH-60R Seahawk helicopters. What truly sets the Eisenhower apart from every other vessel on the ocean is what powers this floating fortress. Deep in her hull, 2 A4W nuclear reactors generate enough energy to keep this ship operational for over 20 years without ever needing to refuel. Think about that for a moment. While other ships worry about fuel supplies and logistics, the Eisenhower operates like a small city that never sleeps. It doesn't sail alone either. The carrier typically leads an entire strike group, escorted by guided missile destroyers, cruisers, and sometimes even attack submarines, forming a protective web around this strategic powerhouse. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, 3 small boats slip quietly from a hidden cove near the Somali coast. Their hulls are packed with fuel, weapons, and desperate intent. Each boat carries between 4 to 6 men, ragged, armed, hungry for their next big score. These aren't your typical fishermen out for an early morning catch. These are hardened pirates who've made a living terrorizing commercial shipping lanes for years. Their target today is special. According to intercepted satellite communications, they've identified what appears to be a slow-moving cargo vessel, the kind of ship that carries valuable cargo and minimal security, the kind of target that could set them up for life if they play their cards right. What they don't realize is that their intelligence is catastrophically wrong. That cargo ship they're speeding toward is actually one of the most powerful warships ever built. The pirates think they're the hunters in this scenario. They believe they're about to pull off the score of a lifetime, but in reality, they're racing straight into the crosshairs of a floating fortress bristling with advanced radar systems, defensive weapons, and some of the most highly trained naval personnel in the world. They think they're predators stalking helpless prey. What they don't know is that they're actually the ones being hunted. Long before these 3 pirate boats crossed the 12 nautical mile perimeter around the Eisenhower, the ship's incredibly advanced detection systems have already spotted them. This isn't luck or coincidence. This is layered defense technology operating exactly as designed. Deep inside the ship's Combat Information Center, watch officers monitor every single blip that appears on their radar screens. The AN/SPY-1 radar array, with its powerful 360-degree sweep capability, picks up the 3 fast-moving boats accelerating directly toward the carrier. That's the first warning sign that something isn't right. Next come the heat signatures. Thermal sensors lock onto the engines and human bodies aboard each vessel. The computer systems immediately flag these boats as suspicious because they're not transmitting any marine traffic identification data. They're not following established shipping lanes. And most importantly, they're completely ignoring hails on international maritime communication channels. These are massive red flags that no legitimate vessel would ignore. The final piece of the puzzle comes from signals intelligence. Radio intercepts from satellite-linked communications aboard the pirate skiffs match chatter patterns that the Navy has been cataloging for years. Every piece of intelligence points to the same conclusion. This is not a friendly approach. These boats represent a clear and present danger to the carrier and her crew. The decision is made in a matter of seconds. In the tower above the flight deck, the ship's air defense commander gives the green light to scramble a pair of MH-60R Seahawk helicopters. These aren't just any helicopters. The MH-60R, nicknamed the Romeo by naval aviators, represents the absolute pinnacle of maritime helicopter technology. This multi-role aircraft combines surveillance capabilities, anti-submarine warfare, and land surface threat engagement into one incredibly lethal package. Built by Sikorsky Aircraft, the Seahawk shares its basic airframe with the legendary Army Black Hawk helicopter. But that's where the similarities end. This naval variant has been extensively modified for maritime operations. Corrosion-resistant components protect against the harsh saltwater environment. Foldable rotor blades allow for easy storage in the tight confines of a ship's hangar. Advanced avionics systems make it equally effective, whether hunting submarines beneath the waves or engaging surface threats above them. The real power of the MH-60R lies in its incredible array of sensors and weapon systems. The AN/APS-153 radar includes inverse synthetic aperture capability, making it perfect for detecting and identifying small, fast-moving surface targets like pirate boats. The forward-looking infrared system allows the crew to track heat signatures even in complete darkness or poor weather conditions. Electronic support measures let the helicopter intercept and analyze hostile radio transmissions, providing real-time intelligence about suspicious vessels. When it comes to firepower, the Seahawk doesn't mess around. It can carry AGM-114 Hellfire missiles for precision strikes against surface targets, Mark 54 lightweight torpedoes for anti-submarine operations, and various machine guns including the 7.62mm M240 or the .50 caliber GAU-21 mounted at the doors for direct fire support. But in this particular situation, overwhelming firepower won't be necessary. Sometimes the mere presence of a heavily armed military helicopter is enough to completely change the dynamics of any confrontation. As rotor blades thunder overhead, warning messages broadcast in multiple languages. The psychological impact is immediate. These pirates realize they're not approaching a cargo vessel. They're staring at military helicopters from a warship. The hunters become the hunted in minutes. The pirate boats slow to a crawl. Engines sputter as panic sets in. The ocean transforms from hunting ground to deadly chessboard where they're already in check. Under the carrier's imposing shadow, their options collapse to two: surrender or face the US Navy. But cornered animals are unpredictable. One boat makes a sudden turn. A man scrambles for something under a tarp. Metal glints in the thermal camera, an RPG launcher. The moment that weapon appears, every defensive protocol activates. This is now an active threat. But here's the thing about the US Navy. They don't need to resort to overwhelming firepower to handle situations like this. The carrier itself doesn't fire a single shot. It doesn't need to. The response is already in motion, and it's about to demonstrate the incredible precision and professionalism of American naval forces. This is where the VBSS team enters the picture. VBSS stands for Visit, Board, Search, and Seizure, and these sailors represent one of the US Navy's most agile and essential capabilities when it comes to close-quarters maritime operations. When situations arise that require boarding suspicious vessels, securing hostile crews, or gathering intelligence in real time right there on the open ocean, the VBSS team is who gets the call. These aren't special operations forces flown in from some distant base. VBSS personnel are typically drawn from the ship's own security division, including master-at-arms, gunner's mates, and other highly trained sailors who live and work aboard the vessel every day. But don't let that fool you into thinking they're anything less than elite. Before any of these sailors are ever allowed to set foot on a potentially hostile vessel, they undergo weeks of incredibly intense training. This training covers everything from close-quarters combat and hand-to-hand fighting techniques to advanced firearms drills and non-compliant boarding tactics. They learn room-clearing procedures, evidence collection methods, proper detainee handling, and the complex legal requirements of law of the sea operations. Because when you're dealing with pirates or other maritime criminals, it's not enough to just stop the threat. You need to do it in a way that preserves evidence and follows international maritime law. A standard VBSS team deploys using a rigid-hull inflatable boat, known as a RHIB. These boats are sleek, fast, and maintain a low profile on the water. They can close the distance between a U.S. Navy ship and a suspect vessel at speeds exceeding 40 knots, getting the boarding team into position before the targets even realize what's happening. Once alongside the target vessel, the team boards using specialized ladders or grappling hooks, depending on the size of the boat and the level of hostility they're facing. Every aspect of their equipment is chosen for maximum effectiveness in maritime boarding operations. Each team member wears ballistic body armor and a Kevlar helmet. They carry M4 carbines equipped with reflex sights and close quarters modifications. Their sidearms are typically SIG Sauer M18 pistols. They have hand restraints, tactical radios, flex cuffs for securing prisoners, and body cameras for recording evidence. Depending on the specific mission, they might also carry non-lethal options like beanbag rounds or tasers. But their most important weapons aren't the guns and gear. It's their speed and precision. These teams move fast, communicate clearly, and dominate the tactical space before any threat has time to respond effectively. The combination of Seahawk helicopters providing air cover and a VBSS team approaching by water creates a layered response that very few adversaries can effectively counter. What separates VBSS teams from elite special operations units isn't the difficulty or importance of their missions, it's the repeatability and consistency. While Navy SEALs might be called in for high-risk raids or special circumstances, VBSS teams perform maritime enforcement, ship inspections, and piracy interdiction as part of their regular duties. They might not get the same media attention as special operations forces, but they're absolutely crucial to maintaining security and order on the world's oceans. In the case of this Somali pirate encounter, the VBSS team from the USS Eisenhower executed their mission with textbook precision. They controlled all three boats simultaneously, disarmed every single attacker, and preserved every piece of potential evidence for later intelligence analysis. Not a single shot was fired. No one was injured. It was a perfect example of overwhelming force used with surgical precision and complete professionalism. But here's where this story takes a very interesting and unexpected turn. As the VBSS team methodically searched the captured pirate boats, following standard evidence collection protocols, they discovered something that completely shattered any simple explanation of this incident. Beneath the tarp, where one of the pirates had grabbed the RPG launcher, Navy personnel uncovered not just a few random weapons, but actual stockpiles of military-grade equipment. We're talking about multiple rocket-propelled grenades, AK-47 assault rifles with tactical attachments, and an unusual number of high-capacity magazines. Hidden under a fuel canister, they found a satellite phone that was still warm from recent use. Even more disturbing was a waterproof bag containing dozens of documents written in Somali, Arabic, and English. One document immediately caught the attention of the boarding team. It was a hand-sketched map showing known commercial shipping routes, with certain vessels specifically marked in red ink. Another document showed what appeared to be coordination points, possibly locations for weapons drops or prisoner exchanges. These weren't random pirates looking to grab some quick ransom money. The evidence suggested they were part of a much larger and more sophisticated operation involving arms smuggling, coordination with onshore contacts, and following specific routes used by other trafficking organizations. When the satellite phone was brought back to the Eisenhower, the ship's intelligence team immediately began extracting and analyzing the data. The call logs revealed numbers that had been flagged in previous piracy cases, including one specifically tied to a major arms interdiction operation off the coast of Yemen in 2023. Text messages referenced weapons deliveries, while others mentioned specific ports in Puntland, Somalia, and Al Hudaydah, Yemen. Both of these locations are well-known hotspots, not just for traditional piracy, but for logistics operations supporting Houthi rebel activities. It became crystal clear that this was no longer just a simple piracy incident. This was actually a thread in a much larger and more dangerous network of criminal and terrorist activities. Navy intelligence specialists immediately began connecting patterns and relationships not only between this specific group and other known pirate syndicates, but also to a suspected arms-for-hire smuggling ring that intelligence agencies believed was operating throughout the region between East Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. This wasn't just about stolen cargo or ransom demands. This was about coordination, infrastructure, and supply chains that were directly supporting ongoing conflicts and terrorist operations. The attempted attack on the Eisenhower whether it was a deliberate probe or simply a case of mistaken identity, had inadvertently exposed a significant piece of a much larger puzzle that intelligence agencies had been trying to solve for years. The pirates themselves, now secured and under guard, offered very little useful information during their initial questioning. Most denied any knowledge of the weapons or documents found on their boats, but honestly, they didn't need to say anything. Their equipment, technology, and operational patterns said everything that needed to be said. The evidence was already flowing up the chain of command to Central Command and allied intelligence units around the world. What this incident revealed was something that had been suspected, but never definitively proven. There was a clear convergence happening between traditional maritime crime, sophisticated arms trafficking networks, and active insurgent operations. The failed attack on the USS Eisenhower had accidentally pulled back the curtain on a complex web of criminal and terrorist activities that spanned multiple countries and organizations. This discovery prompted an immediate and comprehensive response from the U.S. Navy and its international partners. The intelligence gathered from those 3 small boats provided crucial insights into how these networks operate, who they're connected to, and where they might strike next. It was an intelligence breakthrough that came about entirely by accident, all because a group of pirates made the catastrophic mistake of attacking one of the most powerful warships in the world. The broader implications of this incident cannot be overstated. It demonstrated that maritime threats in regions like the Gulf of Aden are evolving rapidly and becoming increasingly sophisticated. These aren't just random criminals looking for easy targets. They're part of organized networks with international connections, advanced communication systems, and access to military-grade weapons. The U.S. Navy's response to this revelation was swift and comprehensive. Recognizing that they had uncovered something much larger than a simple piracy incident, naval commanders immediately escalated their surveillance and reconnaissance efforts throughout the region. Unmanned aerial vehicles were deployed to monitor suspected smuggling corridors on a 24-hour basis. Naval assets increased their patrol frequency in the Gulf of Aden and surrounding waters, with a specific focus on known trafficking routes and coordination points. International cooperation became more important than ever. The Navy strengthened its collaboration with combined maritime forces and the European Union Naval Force, sharing intelligence and coordinating operations to present a unified front against these evolving threats. Joint exercises became more frequent and more focused on the specific tactics and technologies being used by these criminal networks. But perhaps most importantly, this incident served as a wake-up call about the changing nature of maritime security threats. The days of simple piracy motivated purely by ransom demands are clearly coming to an end. What we're seeing now is a convergence of criminal enterprises, terrorist organizations, and state-sponsored activities that pose a much more serious threat to international shipping and regional stability. The lesson here is clear. Preparation, intelligence gathering, and international cooperation are absolutely essential for maintaining maritime security in an increasingly complex and dangerous world. The crew of the USS Eisenhower proved that with the right training, technology, and tactics, even the most sophisticated threats can be neutralized quickly and effectively. This incredible story shows us that sometimes the biggest victories come from the smallest mistakes. Those 3 pirate boats thought they were about to score the biggest payday of their lives. Instead, they handed the U.S. Navy one of the most significant intelligence breakthroughs in recent maritime security history. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more incredible military and naval stories. Drop a comment below and let me know what naval topic you'd like to see covered next. There are so many amazing stories of courage, technology, and strategy happening on the world's oceans, and I can't wait to share more of them with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.